How can data and experimentation help nonprofits improve their marketing? How do you adapt? Because
Yeah.
there's all these new trends coming out. How do we look at data and experimentation through that lens?
So, one of the nice things about marketing and experimentation is, unlike a lot of other areas, marketing experimentation gives you feedback very quickly, right? Like you
Yeah.
tend to know, did something work or not work pretty fast. And your work and not work definitions can be pretty clear, right? And so, the way that data and experimentation can help us improve our marketing is when first we set goals for our marketing, right? What are we trying to achieve with this next campaign? Is it an increase in net donors? Is it increase in total donation amount? Is it increase in retention? Is it awareness about a campaign? Like, what actually are we trying to achieve here? So you have to start with that, and data aren't going to help you set that goal. You have to set that as an organization, as a team, in alignment with what you're trying to achieve overall. But once you've set that, you decide how you're going to measure it, right? So if it's a certain dollar amount, if it is a certain dollar amount per donor, if it's a certain number, whatever that's going to be, you need to figure out how you're going to measure that. Because then what data can help you do is you'll say, all right, we're going to run this campaign with this goal. Did we achieve it? It
Yeah.
now gives you that clear answer and that chance to talk as a group, not with, well, I liked the blue campaign better than the red campaign, whatever, but to say we all agreed this is what we wanted and we fell short or we succeeded.
Yeah.
Right? Those are really your only discussion points. And when you fall short, it's not like, this was your fault. It's, hey, we're all trying to get there. We fell short. How short were we? Did we miss it by this much? Or like, were we wildly off? And then the experimentation can come in both with adaptation to new trends or just tweaking and optimizing what you're already doing, which is, can we use the data to identify where our breakpoint was? So this goes one step farther from just saying, did we achieve our goal or not? You need a few additional data elements, right? We talk about
Yeah.
like, if you're flying a plane, I need to have my compass, but I also want my altimeter, right? I want to know how high off the ground I am. I want to know my speed, right? How fast am I going? I want to know the positions of the flaps on my wings, right? Because that's going to tell me that if I see my altimeter, like if, let's say I'm not getting where I want to go, right? I'm supposed to be headed north. I'm not heading north. Why?
Yeah.
Okay, well, my speed's dropping, there's crosswind coming, whatever it might be, you want to use data to identify that as best you can. I heard an amazing podcast that I'll share the link for on We Are for Good, a gentleman who does measurement marketing. And he was talking about this idea that it's not just about, okay, did my page fail, right? My donor conversion page failed. It's about, well, did it fail above the fold, right? Did people engage with it for more than 10 seconds?
Right.
And if they
Yeah.
didn't, that's a totally different problem than they spent a minute on my page and they expanded all of the read more now and then didn't click the donate button, right?
Yeah.
Two entirely different problems that would have given you the same outcome of, we didn't get enough donations. So then you have that secondary level of data that you can use to try to optimize and fine tune. So if you see it's above the fold, make a change there, go back to your outcome. Did we do better? Right. And you can do
Yeah.
these tweaks in 24 hours, 48 hours. You launch a campaign, it's not going the way you want. You can make those adjustments.
Yeah. And that is one of the fun and terrifying parts of marketing. Like,
Yes.
as a marketer, I very strongly identify with everything you're saying here, where it's going,
Yeah.
there's so many pieces to the marketing journey that it can be quite intense to try
Mhm.
to measure all of them, right? And to gather that data and then make meaningful changes with the data to get to where you need to be.
Yeah.
One thing that had come up in your comments or in what you were saying too is, I think what's really interesting in the nonprofit space, or what I've seen frequently, is that sometimes there's a power that exists in smaller teams if they're investing in gathering data and actually using it, because your size actually can sometimes be to your benefit, because
Yeah.
probably your marketing and fundraising are working very tightly together. They could be the same department. You could just
Yep.
say you have a fundraising department, there's no marketing yet. But in some ways, making those quick changes is much easier because you can see the outcomes and you're the one tracking the entire journey the whole way. Whereas, there's a lot of sometimes siloing in larger organizations, that marketing's got a whole plan over here. And like you said, those goals of fundraising and the fundraising team over here, what the stewardship plan is, all of that are not tied closely together, right?
Yeah.
We see that not frequently, but we have seen that often in our work, where
Mhm.
we're being brought in to almost provide a bridge between those large departments.
Absolutely. And I was thinking, sort of building off of that, that in adapting to these new trends, if you've got a really huge team, it can take a while to turn that ship, right? Like the Titanic
Yeah.
and the iceberg. Like it's just got a lot of momentum. It's going in a direction and it's going to take a lot to pivot. And it can be scary because you may only really have one shot to make that decision about the pivot,
Yeah.
because it's so labor intensive, because it's going to take so many resources to like realign everybody in a new direction. But if you're small, you can be a lot more nimble. And I know this
Yeah.
is a very like tired trope of the like small and nimble, but there's so much truth to it, especially in times when there's a lot of change, there's a lot of disruption. The thing is when we haven't gone somewhere before, there's no roadmap to follow. And so
Yes.
the only way to get there, the only way, and I'm going to stress that, like the only way is to try things and check your compass and see if you're getting closer. That's it. That's the only way we can figure out how to get there. Now, you can sometimes take better guesses than just like complete random shots in the dark. And again, what we talked about earlier of using the data you have to try to identify the most likely thing that will get you in the right direction, but you're still going to have to try it. And if you've got a small team where you can turn around some of these tests, in a couple of days, you're going to do a much better job kind of feeling your way to the next place than some organization that's huge and gets that sort of one shot, and if they miss it, it's going to be a while before they can course correct again.
Absolutely. I love that. And the fun part about marketing should be also some of this experimentation, right? And seeing what resonates. And I think that marketing in the nonprofit space, though, is sometimes scary. Experimentation is scary in the nonprofit space because of exactly what you're outlining, right?
Mm-hmm.
Funds are limited, time is limited, resources, just all limitations exist around. But I think there's still a space where experimentation is pretty cool and really could or should be driving forward some of the decisions that you then make and directions that your nonprofit heads in. So
well, and I would argue that whether you think you're experimenting or not, you're experimenting. You just may not be measuring the results of your experiments or intentionally deciding what things you're going to try.